Man, Absolute Superman issue number 10 was a roller coaster. So, it turns out the Omega Men, all of it, everything they were fighting for was basically a sham. Because their leader, Primus, was really Talia al Ghul. Not only were they all slaughtered, but she also literally stabbed Superman in the back, betraying him as well. And now everything is in disarray. Lois Lane has been subdued. Jimmy, who was a part of the Omega Men and actually believed in their cause, who knows what's gonna happen to him? How he's gonna feel about the fact that the Omega Man was being led by a traitor. And worst of all, Superman has been captured by Brainiac and Raish, tested on, tortured. He is not having a good time, so let's find out how he gets out of this one. And we start with the Elves being captured for all of the crimes they committed. We already know how corrupt the justice system was on Krypton, so they really don't get a fair trial. And because of these supposed crimes they committed, they're being sentenced to hang. And then they punish Kid Kal-El for being an orphan by sentencing him to 20 years in a Phantom Zone orphanage. But it gets worse as he tries to defend his parents, as he tries to beg these people to stop and tries to tell them that their planet can still be saved. This is blasphemy, and they add another 5 years onto his orphanage stay. And with his parents' life hanging in the balance, frustration growing, with rage and fear building up in Kal, he unleashes a massive explosion. He screams, "To hell with you," and kills everyone. But it turns out, all of this, is some kind of simulation Brainiac has put him through, with Superman strapped up and kryptonite all around him, so he's completely susceptible to everything. He has essentially made Superman murder the ruling class of Krypton 575 times. And the plan is even worse. They plan on making him do this 3,000 times so that he's finally brainwashed enough to do this to the planet. But Raish makes it clear that this better work this time. The results better not be the same as they were with Peacemaker, because if Brainiac fails again, there will be repercussions. And the way Talia and Raish have been speaking to Brainiac, I'm telling you, I see it now. At the first opportunity, he will betray these two. Because Raish makes it clear he doesn't want Superman to be lobotomized like these many clones Brainiac has working for him. He wants him intact. He wants him to see that if he truly wants to save the world, he has to do it through Raish. He has to be the son of the demon. But then Talia goes on to completely threaten him and let him know if he fails again, she'll feed him to the father box. And just like how Soul seemed to be afraid of that thing, Brainiac also seems to be afraid of the box, as he makes it clear he'll do what they ask as long as they keep that thing away from him. And as they make their leave, he's sure there's no reason Superman shouldn't break from all this. Surrounded by kryptonite and red sun radiation, Soul removed from his body so no one's there to protect him. No being can withstand this level of torture. Superman has to break. And one of the other Brainiac minions makes a good point. He simply suggests that Brainiac should start calling the Kryptonian meteorite kryptonite, which gets his tongue cut off, as Brainiac doesn't want any of them speaking out of turn. But I guess this is where they'll start coining the phrase kryptonite. And Brainiac starts to speak to Superman because now he understands everything about him. He's read his memories and his past. He knows about the destruction of Krypton and why Superman believes he can save everyone on this planet. But Brainiac lets him know, these people cannot be saved. He's been on this planet since 1938. And I believe this date is important because if we go back to Absolute Evil, back in 1939, Wesley Dodds made that anesthetic compound, and it's the weapon he used when he became the superhero, the Sandman. Which means Brainiac was around right before the heroic age even started in the Absolute Universe. He's seen all kinds of heroes, every kind of hero try to save the planet. And he's seen how they failed time and time again. And it's not even just that they failed, but that means he's been witness to the government tampering with their success as well. It does make sense why he thinks there's nothing the heroes can actually do to save this planet. Why he thinks humans are so useless. Which is why he tells Superman, believe me when I say, once you've let yourself kill a few millions of the hapless sacks of entrails, you'll see that's exactly the sort of help these people deserve. So based on how long he's been on the planet and his own backstory that we covered in I think issue number 7, we see exactly why Brainiac is the way that he is, and why he's so hellbent on turning Superman into that as well. And while our boy Kal goes through his own torture, we see Primus torturing Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, constantly going into their cell to kick him around a bit. And Lois doesn't understand why she's doing this. At some point, either make it a fair fight or just kill them. And Jimmy does not agree with that sentiment, but he is confused. How could Talia betray the Omega Men? But Lois understands clearly. It's that the Omega Men and the Lazarus Corps were all a lie. Two sides of the same coin. And Talia agrees, everything is a lie. All life is corrupted in its very atoms. Left untended, humanity will consume itself and everything it touches. All that stands between survival and apocalypse is the hand of the undying shepherd of man, my holy father, Ra's al Ghul. Their plan is pretty simple. The rich get richer, the poor get angrier, and eventually everything explodes with the Al Ghuls on top. But the best way for this to happen is for humans to die by the billions. And who better to cause that level of destruction than Superman himself? This is why they're working so hard to break him mentally, because with him, they can easily wipe out anybody they want. And with them being the only ones with kryptonite, they'd be the only ones to stop him as well. But Lois doesn't believe this will work. She knows Superman is stronger than this, but Talia reveals something. She knows exactly how strong Superman is, because the Father Box tells her everything. And because of this knowledge, she knows Superman does have a breaking point, and once he reaches it, Lois and Jimmy will be the first ones to know. Because his first job, his first mission after being broken, is to kill them both. Soul was afraid of it, Brainiac was afraid of it, and we know it communicates as it talked to Superman when it healed his wounds, and it's speaking to Talia. And since I'm assuming it's Darkseid doing all this talking through the Father Box, it really makes me wonder, what the hell is his plan? Especially with everything going on in DCKO. Now we're 5 days into Superman being tortured and he breaks free. And after everything he's been through and all the people he's killed in these simulations, he's about to kill Brainiac. It will not allow him to kill any more people. He won't allow himself to be turned into this monster. But by killing Brainiac, he would be the monster, so he realizes he needs to stop himself. And while realizing he's better than this, he turns to the different clones of Brainiac. He lets them know they don't deserve this. They're prisoners just like he is and that they deserve liberty. Realizing that maybe Superman is right, Brainiac shows up. This was all a program, as Brainiac is very angry at these results, demanding his clones to end the program. And I can already see the wheels turning, with the clones clearly having actual feelings, Superman saying they deserve liberty, and Brainiac treating them like hot garbage. They're definitely gonna uprise at some point. And this all stems back from, like I said before, his origin story, where he was treated like hot garbage for over 100 years. And now with all these clones, he gets to do that to others. But we already know this is a facade, because when he called the other actual Brainiacs, when they finally asked which one he was, he just turned off the transmission. He's still hiding that deep down, no matter what he thinks he is or what he names himself, he is still that garbage Brainiac from all those years ago. And on top of all of this, he is really having a hard time with Superman. He's driving him crazy because all he wants is for Superman to kill him one of these times in these programs, but he won't. He didn't do it after day 5, he's still not doing it after day 12, and he still hasn't progressed after day 14. But let's go back on the 12th day. See, on day number 12, the containment for Soul was disabled. And as Brainiac tries to figure out which one of his clones did this, one of them says, "We deserve liberty." So what Superman said in that little program has actually affected the other Brainiacs. And as he tries to figure out which one of the traitors said it, all of them speak up. We all said it. And with an evil smile on his face and a kryptonite blade, he cuts them all to pieces. So not only does Superman not progress in 2 weeks of torture, but we also see the clones are starting to turn on Brainiac. Like they've already established in these Absolute Superman issues, just by being in contact with this guy, it changes you. And now we see even artificial life changes around Superman. Even while sitting here, unconscious, getting tortured for 2 weeks, he has inspired artificial life to fight for its freedom and die trying. And Brainiac realizes just how impressive and dangerous this really is, because he actually changed his programming to 500 hours of him helplessly watching the clones get chainsawed through. Because it wasn't just the program of Superman saying they deserve liberty that started that little rebellion. After Brainiac looked at his security footage, he realized in just the slightest whispers, Superman was speaking to these robots at night. Speaking so softly and so low they can only register it on a subconscious level. As Brainiac says plainly, a man who rewrites hardwiring with his whispers and inspires rebellion in a pack of walking toasters. So yeah, Superman's ability to inspire anyone and anything is pretty much unmatched, which is why Brainiac says it is a privilege to pillage the brain of a being such as this, as he continues to try and break Superman, and now talking to the corpses that he's chopped to pieces, promises that he will break, no matter who has to die. But things turn up to 11 because Lois has been here for a little while now, and of course at some point her father was gonna show up. And as he sets off the scanners because of his robotic prosthetic legs, it turns out that's not all he's packing. He brought weapons and he's come for his daughter. And he runs through these peacemakers pretty damn fast and gets right to the cell where Jimmy and Lois are. Honestly, for how old he is, he not messing around, as he hands Lois a gun and they're ready to get out of there. And Lois decides they're taking Jimmy with them, because all of them have someone to save. But while they're on their way to Superman, we see the current program he's in. It's back when he was living with Ma and Pa Kent and he was being taken by the Peacemakers. But this time, instead of running like they told him to, he stays and he destroys everybody. And as he annihilates all the Peacemakers, Ra's al Ghul shows up and lets him know this is how he saves the planet. This is why he was sent here. He's gonna have to get blood on his hands. But before he can finish everything he's saying, something's wrong, and it turns out in the blink of an eye, Superman ripped his heart out. These programs have gotten to a point now where he doesn't even hesitate to murder his enemies. Hell, a second after this, Talia shows up to try and save him, and once again, with no hesitation, he kills her too, breaking her neck on the spot. And his parents in this simulation see how angry he is now, and they want him to listen to them very carefully. And as they speak to him, we see Brainiac get shot by Lois. She's finally here to save Superman, but he tells her it's far too late for that. And her and Jimmy are trying to find a way to get Superman out of all these different things in his head and in his body, get him away from all this kryptonite. And they're running out of time. Lois's father is trying to hold him off, so the best they can do is try and yank all this stuff away. But something's wrong. Lois's father calls out to her and she tells him, "Not now, Dad," but he calls her again. It's very important because he can't feel his legs. He has been stabbed through the head with a giant knife. Never did I think when I first saw the General, Lois Lane's father, that he would die trying to save Superman, because once he falls, they also shoot his dead body. He is very dead. And as Lois runs over to her father and lays down some suppressive fire so that Jimmy can try and wake Superman up, we see Brainiac get up trying to attack Jimmy. But he knocks him down pretty damn easily, telling Brainiac not to call Kal-El Superman. As we know right now, he does not like that name. And inside that program that he's still stuck in, we see him speaking to his parents, Ma and Pa Kent. They tell him they were wrong for telling him to run that day, and that nowhere is safe on this planet unless he fights for his place here. And this program has them say something you always want to hear from your parents: "We're so proud of you." But it's got a pretty dark turn, as they tell him, "What you've done here, we want you to keep doing it out there. Go out there and kill them all," as Superman officially breaks out of this device. But what kind of Superman has broken free? Was he broken after all this time? And the first thing he does when he breaks free is choke up Brainiac, as he has a disgusting smile on his face. And one of the clones that were torn through by Brainiac crawls up to the containment unit and frees Soul so that it can finally save Superman and get him out of here. And Lois, cradling her father in her arms, promises Primus, promises Talia al Ghul she will kill her for this. And with Superman's grip around Brainiac's neck getting tighter to the point where it starts to crush the brace, Jimmy is confused on what Kal is actually doing. Even Soul is confused as it swarms around Superman's body and lets him know it's reactivated and it's ready to get them out of here. But clearly, Superman is filled with rage, as we see the red mist around him becomes violent and it starts to blow up a lot of the compound around Superman. Everyone's getting blown away, nobody knows what he's about to do next, and this is where the issue ends, as Soul says, "Kal-El?" So, like I said before, we don't know what kind of Superman was able to free himself from that device. Will we get a more violent Superman? We'll have to see in the next issue. We got 2 more to go before we finally caught up on Absolute Superman. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next one.